Hi there, you're watching the Gardens and Graveyard channel. My name is Charisma and today we're meeting in the studio and we're going to sow some seeds. And I'm kind of excited because I have a new setup that I've never tried before. So this is from Jiffy. I really love their brand. They have been in business for many years in the seed business. This kit it's called a greenhouse kit, and that's because it comes with a top to put over to create a greenhouse effect. It also comes with Super Thrive fertilizer and a few labels. Most importantly, plug size cells, and they're fairly deep, which I appreciate. And then it has the tray, which I can put bottom water in this. I could also put a wicking mat. I can put a wicking mat on the bottom of this tray to create a self-watering tray, which is what I'm going to do today. Set that to the side. I think there's anything else that I wanted to say about it. This is recycled plastic. Yeah. So, I have a lot of seeds that I want to start today. There are 12 6-packs in here. We're going to start all of them. And this tray is specifically going to be dedicated to the cut flower garden, plus I think three additional flowers. So these are all going to be cut flowers and a squash. Because I just want to make sure that the squash gets started. So we're going to fill these trays up with seed starting mix, which is a sterile mix. Seedling mix. It's already bagged up and sterile, so I don't have to do any kind of special, like I don't make my own seedling mix. But I do like to pre-moisten the mix so that when I water my seeds in, they don't sink into the mixture. So I'm going to do that real quick. And all I do is throw it in a bowl and use the rest of this seedling mix. Have a little water here. Mix it up. The goal is that it's moist enough to hold together like this, but not so moist that it that I can squeeze out any water. So do a little bit more on the edges here. Okay, so just go ahead and fill these up. then just to settle the soil, I'm just gonna give it one or two of those, right? And let's see. Okay. Then I'm gonna go ahead and make up all my labels before I get started, so that I'm not in too big of a mess. Alright, so I'm going to use this new garden pen. It's a different brand than I've ever used before. Staedtler. We'll see how they do. I'm going to go ahead and just make these labels before we get started. All right, so now we can look at all these seeds and see what we're doing. We have Globe Amaranth, and this is an annual. It wants to be planted an 1/8 of an inch deep. Takes 14 days, 5 to 14 days of germination, and okay, so it might get tall. And then we have Chocolate Lace Flower is an annual. And doesn't say how fast. Okay, that's fine. Then we have the Sea Holly is a perennial. So I think I want to put my annuals on one side and my perennials on the other, just so I could keep them straight in my head, because I'm interested to see how they act in the seed starting situation, because I don't think I've paid attention to that before. Delphiniums are annuals in my area, even though they are technically a perennial. They take 21 days to germinate. That's quite some time. And let's see, we've got zucchini. Doesn't say. It's an annual. I don't know how long it takes. Crispidia. Tender perennial, zones 8 to 11, so good chance that it'll live over winter here. 14 to 18 days. Saucer vine, annual. Celosia, annual. 14 to 21 days. Hollyhock, biennial, 14 days. Feverfew, annual, or tender perennial, 5 to 9. So right on the border there for a perennial for feverfew. um, 10 to 14 days. Okay. So I think I'll just get the perennials done first so that they're over there and out of the way. So we're going to start with the Cresspedia Sunball. It is a cutting flower and they dry really well and hold their color. All of these, with the exception of, well, these are going to go in my backyard. With the exception of the Delphinium and the Feverfew. And the Feverfew might go in the backyard too, but the Delphinium will go in the front yard. Everything else is going in the backyard, and most of it is going in the raised bed in front of the greenhouse, which will be my cutting flower garden. This year anyway. Alright, drumstick flower or Cresspedia. Alright, well, it doesn't say how deep these want to go. So we're just going to take our best guess. And the way you do that is you take a look at what seeds look like. And they're not the tiniest seeds, but they're kind of fluffy. So I'm going to put them just below the soil surface. It doesn't say anything about having to have light. Germination just says 14 to 18 days with 75-degree temperatures. So Cresspedia is here. And I keep all my labels facing out, so they're facing you, but the tray will be turned around in my seed starting station. And I like to put them in the front corner of each tray. It's just how I do it. So I'm going to put just a couple in each cell and just kind of dab them in. Oops. Well. I just put a lot in there and that'll be fine. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of seed starting mix and just sort of cover them all up. With not too much. But enough to cover them. Okay. Then the next one is the Sea Holly Blue Glitter. And it's a perennial in zones 3 to 8. So we'll see what it does. It might need more cold stratification, so it might not come back for me. Now this one says they want to grow colder and not in temperatures above 70. So, you know what? I might wait and sow these ones in my greenhouse. So I'm going to set this to the side and do that because the greenhouse doesn't get 70 this time of year. All right, then I have Feverfew. I have the same variety from 2 companies. So this is, no, I have 2 different varieties. That's what it is. Okay, so that's why I have that. Okay, that's good. Working out perfectly here. Feverfew Magic. Okay, and then this is Feverfew Magic Lime. Alright, so I have two different kinds of feverfew. One's from Johnny's, and it's Magic Single. I believe it's white. And then I have one from Florette that's Magic Lime Green, which is a light green color. Again, these are great cutting flowers. They make little sprays of flowers that make really great fillers, and they dry really well. So this says, gently press seeds into the medium. Do not cover as light aids germination. Bottom water or mist to avoid covering. And they want 70 degrees. So perfect. Let's just do the feverfew. Oops. Magic Single here together. I don't have very many of those. So I had these seeds from Johnny's last year and planted them directly in the garden, and I didn't have great success. So I actually only have 3 of those. So we're going to go ahead and put in the lime 3. And great. And there we go. All right, then the rest of these, I'm gonna put the zucchini and this one over here. These are 3 years old, so I'm just gonna put 2 or 3 in every cell, and then if I have any left over, I'll try winter sowing them. They pretty much look like pumpkin seeds. Which makes sense since they're a squash. And I know I can put pumpkin seeds down like a 1/4 inch or so. So just gonna do that. A little swirl on top of there. Okay. let's just roll on down. I'm going to put the Delphinium and Sosia at the very end because they take the longest to germinate. So we have Globe Amaranth, 1/8 of an inch down. So we're just going to kind of push them into the soil a tiny bit. The amaranth is also really great dried flower and cutting flower. Okay, then we have the chocolate lace flower, another really great filler flower and should dry really nicely. I am sewing everything a little bit heavy because there's just no way I'll use all these seeds. Most of them will end up at a seed library at the end of the year. This doesn't say either, but those were really small seeds, so I'm just going to surface sow them and put some vermiculite and call it good. Very confused. 1, 2, okay. So then I have hollyhocks, and this is Majorette Double Champagne from a company I've never bought seeds from before, Rower Seeds. They're out of Philadelphia. I'm gonna actually do 2 trays of the Delphinium or the hollyhock if I can. Okay, that worked out perfectly. Each one got 2 seeds. And I know hollyhocks do pretty good with just surface sowing because they are the type of flower that will set their seed, drop them on the ground, and then self-sow. So I'm going to leave that as a surface. And then we have saucer vine. Only 2 seeds in there. So we'll just put them towards the back here together. And a little bit of soil right over it. And this one is right here. Saucer vine. This purple saucer vine we grew in our garden last year, and it didn't start actually climbing its trellis until September, and we never got any flowers. So while it did germinate in the garden, it didn't really perform. So I'm hoping until this frost that we ended up having, it was still growing like all winter long. I don't know if it'll withstand the frost, and I'm not seeing this as an annual, so it probably won't last through the frost. So I'm hoping I get a couple more and I could get it started inside and they'll like do something. I don't know. This is the sea holly. All right, so then these two, I'm gonna do celosia with these two minus the 2 cells, and then these two will be delphinium, because they just take the longest, 14 to 21 days. The rest of these are 10 to 14 days. So maybe they'll come up in 14, but I don't know. All right, so this is Sosia Flamingo. And they are this bright pink flower, also from Sosia Seeds. And they make a really fantastic dried flower. So going really heavy on the dry flower this year. Oh, it looks like caviar or something. These are pelleted seeds, which means they're really tiny. And they also don't tell me if I surface sow, I bury them, but they're so small that I'm just gonna sprinkle them right on top. Fairly heavy because I am not familiar with the company. And we'll see what happens. Okay, and then we have delphinium. Now, delphiniums in my area, I will buy them blooming, and then they finish their blooms in the garden, and then they're done. They do not last in my garden at all. So I'm hoping that by starting them by seed, maybe I could get them blooming in my garden, and I'll get to enjoy them for a longer period of time. It does say that they're perennial, zones 3 to 9. Again, we're right on the border. We might need that cold that we don't normally get. These want to be covered in 1/8 of an inch. Right. This is from the American Seed Company. These are the Pacific Giant mix colors. It looks like a pastel mix, kind of heavy on the purples, some whites, some pink. And again, I'm just going pretty heavy on how many seeds per cell, because I just don't know what to expect, really. I'm just going to kind of tap them in there. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this tray. Alright, so I'm trying something different, and we'll see what happens. I read that you can make your own wicking mat with this polyfill fleece. So it's you know, polyfill is usually like what you put in pillows and like really fluffy, but this is like a little, oh, well, it's like a mat. So I'm just gonna cut out a piece to fit underneath the mat. I need. Okay. Let's move these. Record them in a little while. And then we just we're gonna set this down inside there. We don't need that much. Alright, so then I'm just going to put this fill in the bottom here and water the bottom in, which would be better if I had something more than this. My watering can is empty. And right now it won't matter as much because there's no roots. So I'm not going to fill it too much. Just want to give you the idea. So you see it kind of wicks it all up here, and then the bottom of the cell packs will sit on it and soak it up. We'll see. And until there is germination, we'll make sure that the top doesn't dry out where the seeds are sitting in the soil, and we'll make sure that you know, we wait until there's a root system to actually wick up. The soil will do part of the wicking, but the roots are what needs the wicking. So we'll wait until there's some roots to actually take up that water. But I wanted to just see and experience how that felt. And then I also picked up a self-watering kit, which is basically this setup, but with like the official wicking mat. And I just wanted to see what the difference is between them. These are pretty tough seedlings or seeds, so I feel confident in doing this batch like this. And then I'll do a batch with the self-watering tray with some other flowers, and we'll just watch and see what the difference is. So I always top my seedling trays off with vermiculite. It really, really helps with dampening off, which is what I have the most trouble with when I'm starting seeds in my house. Because our environment is just so moist that most of the time the soil will just get all mildewy. And I have that problem even in my house plants. I'm considering a couple house plants to maybe put some vermiculite on them and see if that helps at all, because when it gets the mildew on top, what happens is it creates like this crust and no water can get through, and then, you know, the plants don't thrive. So all right. Okay, so there we have it. I don't even know. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 varieties of flowers planted, and half a dozen of each one. That's quite a lot of flowers for my little garden. So, you know, if I get great germination, awesome. A lot of these are filler flowers, and they can just be put out in the yard, and they don't necessarily have to just go in my raised bed. So if I have really good success, I'll find places for them. But if I don't, then they were all heavily sown, and hopefully I'll get, you know, a few plants of each one. That's just how starting seeds go. I am not confident in my seed starting process yet. But last year was really good. I had a good seed starting station set up. These will go on a heat pad. They will have overhead lighting that I leave on for 16 hours a day right now until they're germinating. The heat pad will come off when they've come up and germinated. They will also, this tray will also get the greenhouse. So they're pretty, and they're in the house. So, you know, our ambient temperature in the house is around 70, 71. So I think it'll be fine. Like I said, last year was a really good seed starting success. So I'm hopeful we'll do it again. I almost gave up on starting seeds, but you know, the draw of having a really unique flower, it's just you just can't beat it if you could get the flower, the color, and the type of flower that you want. They're just, you know, nurseries can't carry millions of flowers. So this is a way that we can grow the flower that we want in our garden. All right, that's going to be it for today. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you're celebrating your life, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.